Hi there, so I'm here to explain my system called graduation envelopes for teaching high frequency words. But before I can start with that, I just want to explain a little bit about what high frequency words are, why they're important, and where you can find a list of these words. So high frequency words is kind of a fancy term for the most common words in English that we use for reading and writing. And the cool thing is that these 100 most common words make up about 50% or half of everything that you have to read or write. So if you look it up, Lord of the Rings, half of the words in Lord of the Rings are these 100 words. Half of the words in a children's book are these 100 words. Half of the words that you have to write when you write a letter to your friend are these 100 words. So if a child can learn to read and spell these 100 words really quickly and accurately, it makes the whole process of reading and spelling much easier for them. So that's what high frequency words are. Some people call them sight words because they're words that the child should be able to recognize by sight. And sometimes people more focus on the tricky words or irregular words. And a number of the high frequency words are tricky or irregular or seem not to follow usual spelling patterns. So some do. So like at follows normal kind of phonics patterns. It says at, that's at. So you could sound out the word at. But some high frequency words are irregular, like the word some. So in the word some you hear and when you spell some, you spell it S-O-M-E. So you would maybe expect that to say some, not some. So some of the very common words are irregular as well and might need a little extra help. So that's what they are. The second piece is why they're important, and why they're important is because they're half of what we need to learn to read and spell. And then the third thing is where you find them. So a very common list is the Dolch list, but personally I don't like the Dolch list because it's not actually the most common words in all reading material. It has a lot of words that are specifically for more kindergarten kind of students, so color words. And the word yellow is not actually a very, very common word. It's just kind of a kindergarten content word. So I prefer to use the Fry list, which is more based on frequency or how common the words are. I also really like, there is a book called Teaching Word Recognition by Rolanda O'Connor, and she has a list of the most common words. And if you go on the book website, you can download it if you own the book. So that's a little bit of background on what high frequency words are, and now I'm going to explain how to use the graduation envelope method to teach them. So the graduation envelope method is a very structured, systematic way to teach high frequency words that makes sure that the child has enough repetition and practice that the words sink in and don't get lost after they've learned them. And it also incorporates, kind of progress monitoring, so you can see how the child's progressing with the words. It involves the child self-checking their own work, and you give a lot of direct feedback. So it incorporates a lot of sort of good teaching practices to make sure that these words are learned really well. So the first thing that you're going to do to use this system is to make 3 envelopes. And the first one's going to be your reading practice envelope. And this is where you're going to store the words that your child is practicing reading. Then you're going to need to make a spelling practice envelope, and this is where words that your child's already learned to read but not spell will go. And then finally, you need some sort of fancy envelope where the child gets to store words that they've learned how to read and spell. And this is supposed to be fun, so the child could decorate this however they want. If you want to get really fancy and buy some kind of cool box or, treasure chest at the dollar store that your child can store their special words in, that's awesome too. It might help them to be more enthusiastic about it. So you make your envelopes, then you get your list of high frequency words. And I recommend that for kids who are like grade 1 to grade 3, who you're using this system with, if they're not very solid on high frequency words, I would do all 100 just to make sure that they're really, really solid. But if, let's say, you're working with a child who's a little older and they know some of the words really well and some not as well, then you might test them on the 100 most common words and target the ones that they don't know as well. Also, for some more advanced kids, they may be able to read the words but just not spell them, so you could skip the reading part and just go and have the spelling envelope and the final kind of graduation envelope. So you make your envelopes, and then you get your cue cards from the dollar store. You get a pack of 100 for $1, and you write the words that your child's going to practice on the cards. And so you want to start off with about 6 to 8 words, maybe less if your child is taking a long time to learn these words. So you write out your words that the child doesn't know. So for most kids, you're starting with the top 6 most common words, then you're going to add going down the list. And then on the back of each card, you're going to put a column R for reading and S for spelling. And that's where your child's going to track their progress. So that's how you set it up, and then you need to have more cue cards and a pen so that you can write new words that you need to add if you haven't made all 100 words at the beginning. Just a quick tip though, when you're writing the word, make sure you write it in block, lowercase letters in a dark color, because usually when we see these words, they're written in lowercase letters. So you got your word cards, you got your envelopes, and now what you need to do is explain to your child how it works.